The invitation arrived in a plain black envelope, sealed with crimson wax and no return address. It promised a night of revelation and reward, a chance to win a fortune if the recipient dared to spend one single night inside the forgotten Hawthorne Estate, a mansion buried deep within the Blackwood Forest. 10 strangers accepted, each of them drawn by greed, desperation, or secret guilt. None of them knew that the true prize was survival. The estate rose from the forest like a mausoleum of stone and timber. Its tall windows stared blindly into the night, their glass veined with frost despite the mild autumn air. The iron gates swung inward as if pulled by invisible hands. Inside, the grand foyer exhaled the stale breath of decades. Portraits of long-dead judges and generals lined the walls, their eyes gleaming with a damp sheen that seemed to follow every movement. Among the invited guests were a disgraced detective, a fading actress with a violent past, a corrupt banker, a nurse who once let a patient die, a gambler drowning in debt, a surgeon hiding a fatal mistake, an heiress consumed by greed, a quiet young woman with an unreadable smile, an aging scholar obsessed with occult texts, and Father Samuel Cain, a priest whose faith had been eroded by personal tragedy. Each guest carried sins no one else knew. Each came for reasons they barely admitted to themselves. As the last guest stepped across the marble threshold, the heavy oak doors slammed shut with a thunderous crack. Locks clicked of their own accord. The chandeliers flickered to life, bathing the entrance hall in a sickly yellow glow. Outside, the forest moaned as if welcoming prey. At first, the guests treated it like an elaborate game. They explored the ballroom, the library thick with dust, the conservatory where vines pressed against the glass like restless fingers. But the windows were nailed shut, the doors sealed. The clocks had no hands, yet a deep chime echoed from nowhere. When the unseen bell tolled midnight, a scream shattered the tense laughter. The banker lay in the wine cellar, black veins crawling across his throat as though poisoned by something not of this world. No intruder could be found. No door had opened. Panic fed suspicion. The detective barked orders. The heiress accused the nurse. The gambler swore the priest was hiding something. Father Cain tried to calm them, but the air itself seemed to thicken with an invisible hunger. The portraits along the hallway leaned forward almost imperceptibly. From the vents came a low whisper, naming sins no one had confessed. One by one, the guests began to unravel. The actress claimed she heard her dead lover calling from the attic. The surgeon saw blood blooming on his own hands, no matter how hard he scrubbed. The scholar woke screaming from dreams of fiery tribunals. Their minds cracked as if the house itself were peeling them open. Then the killings resumed. The actress disappeared in the music room, leaving only a trail of black feathers from her dress. The nurse was found hanging upside down in the conservatory, her eyes frozen in a glassy terror. The gambler vanished, his playing cards scattered in a perfect circle around a pool of ash. Each death mirrored the hidden crime of its victim. Father Cain recognized the pattern. Years earlier, he had studied the legends of Judge Elias Hawthorne, the mansion's original owner. The judge had once boasted that no sin would escape his courtroom. Rumors claimed he bargained with a demon for eternal justice, offering his soul to condemn the guilty beyond death. Cain realized the host of this gathering was no mortal heir. It was the judge himself long dead, but resurrected inside one of the guests. The priest gathered the survivors, the detective, the heiress, the young woman, and the trembling scholar in the crumbling chapel wing. He recited prayers of exorcism, but the demon only laughed through the pipes, a sound like grinding teeth. The walls trembled. The chandeliers bled waxy tears. The detective accused the heiress of being the vessel. The heiress shrieked that the priest was the killer. Then the quiet young woman began to convulse, her eyes rolling back until only darkness showed. Judge Hawthorne's voice burst from her throat, mocking and cold. He promised liberation from guilt for the price of a single willing soul. Cain understood. The demon fed on confession, twisting human shame into eternal contracts. To break the cycle, a sacrifice was required, one who would confront the demon without bargaining. The priest stepped forward, pressing his crucifix to the girl's forehead. Invisible claws raked his skin, but he did not waver. He recited the ancient rite, voice steady even as the air turned to ice. The chandeliers exploded, showering the chapel in shards of glass. The demon shrieked, a sound that seemed to tear open the fabric of the world. "Your judgment ends with me," Cain cried. A burst of blinding light erupted from the crucifix. The mansion roared like a living beast. Windows shattered outward, and a hurricane of cold wind swept through the halls. When the survivors opened their eyes, Father Cain lay motionless on the chapel floor, a faint smile frozen on his lips. The young woman collapsed beside him, freed of the entity. The chandeliers flickered once, then died. Outside, the first rays of dawn pierced the black canopy. The heavy oak doors creaked open as if reluctantly releasing its prey. The survivors stepped into the pale morning, the forest strangely silent. Where the priest had fallen, a single silver coin remained, engraved with the Latin words Finis Iudici, the end of judgment. Yet as they staggered down the weed-choked path, the detective glanced back and swore he saw the broken windows slowly mend themselves. Somewhere deep within the house, a bell began to chime again. A hollow promise that the 13th dawn would come once more.